You're welcome back. It's still Business Morning on Channels Television, and do remember that the MPC decision will be on live in our special extended Business Incorporated edition today at 1:30. So do join us then for that information. And just before we get into all of that, a little bit of talking about being a billionaire. I remember a popular slogan some time ago: to be a millionaire, think like a millionaire. But to be a billionaire, it's all about habits. Habits define us, they determine our decisions, and our decisions determine our destiny. How successful or unsuccessful will be in life. This is one principle which is captured in the book Billionaire Habits, and the author, Dr. Stephen Akintayo, the managing director of G-Tex Homes, joins us to talk about these habits that will make us billionaires.
I hope I have those habits.
You're about to find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well,
Good to see you.
I know you're being a billionaire. Does it have anything to do with the MPC?
No, not at all.
Because that's our focus, like today in Nigeria. We are waiting for 1:30 and all that.
Yes.
But you said you talked about the habits of being a billionaire. What are some of those habits, and how do you form them? Do they come from your parents when you're growing up? Do you adapt them as you're growing up?
Or DNA?
I think the same way you've never seen a born journalist, right? So you don't have a that there are of course people who by parent maybe through will, but in terms of the habits, you are not born with it. You develop them over time. And one of the ways to develop them is actually through apprenticeship, because professors don't teach them the university. So you don't learn them through formal education, but by meeting people who are billionaires and learning from them is the way to the top. And everybody who has ever become a billionaire, even in Nigeria, you look at Dangote, how he was mentored by his uncle. You always see that trace of how to learn under somebody else. I was an apprentice to somebody else. I pick up certain principles. And usually the story is always that I probably, used my allowance, or I got a loan, but the money they got is never commensurate to the wealth they built. So it tells you that it was really the habit that led to the growth, and not necessarily what you get.
Okay. So what are some of those habits?
Well, there are many of them discussed in the book. One of it, which is I often share, is about two poor people cannot help themselves. One must first get to the top before he throws the rope to help the other one. And so one of the habits is actually, building a culture of connecting with people who are financially better than you, so that you can, of course, move to the top. But oftentimes we don't even do that. You see, there's a song, right?
And for those who don't understand Yoruba,
meaning the poor is a friend of the poor, the rich is the friend of the rich. And usually that is the reason why you see poverty being perpetuated from one generation to the other among poor people, and wealth almost remaining, except when you then have a bastard child that wastes, and squanders the money. But usually you see the wealth still circling because of the network, because your network determines your network.
Okay.
Is that why you said in your book that the rich are arrogant? Are they arrogant?
No, they're not really. But the perception of a poor person is that if you're wealthy, you are arrogant, because it takes certain principles, right, to build wealth. For example, I can't remember the last time I bought Ashwebi, and I probably can afford to start a company that produces that, right? But it's just a waste. At my wedding, we're less than 20, right? I just don't have the luxury of wasting money, right? So,
these are some of the habits.
These are some of the habits. So if you come to me as a relative and you tell me of how your great-grandfather has died, and they must know, they must take, and as your uncle or your brother, I must give you money, and I'm asking, I don't even do such, right? Personally, it's not a habit that I have for myself, so why should I necessarily do that? So you can then term that to be arrogance.
So instead of funding other people's habits, basically.
Exactly.
All right, so what is the most important trait to be a billionaire? What's the most important habits to cultivate?
Well, I think it's diligence. There are two. I was sharing a devotion with my staff this morning that there are two things I've never seen with any billionaire. I've never seen a billionaire that's a gossiper. You know, again, we're not talking of corrupt politicians here. You know, so when we analyze when we analyze billionaires, we're talking about people who work hard for their money, they're entrepreneurs, and you know, so that people get it. Because in this part of the world, whenever you say certain things, what comes to mind is how they stole 16 point something billion, you know. So we're talking about people who legitimately made money. So I've never seen a billionaire that's a gossiper. He's straight up. I don't like this, I don't like this, you know. What he says behind you, probably say in your presence. But the second one, I've never seen a lazy billionaire. Right? I've never seen a billionaire that is lazy. I woke up, you know, after 3 this morning. Okay. You know, and that's the attitude. And I was sharing with her, I said, I work averagely 16 hours a day. I cannot be at the same level with the person who does 8 hours a day. It doesn't work that way.
But, you know, being a billionaire is one thing, but actually keeping that status is another thing. How do you maintain that status?
Well, it's because there are 3 ways to this. You need to know how to make money. That's step 1. You need to know how to manage money. That's step 2. You need to know how to multiply money. So where you're talking about now is managing money, right? And that's really a place of mentorship and sound advisors, right? So you have to have great mentors who have gone ahead of you, because success is not a destination, it's a journey, right? You know, I have a lot of, you know, I mean, average of my mentors are billionaires in dollars that I'm learning from, to say, you know, I've just started, I need your help. And that's their attitude, really. It's not like you get somewhere and you have arrived. It's a journey.
You keep going. And talking about management habits, and the parts in the book when you talked about management, you mentioned emotional intelligence.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and that seems to be something that is in the ICT world these days. So how do you blend the money management and emotional intelligence?
So, you know, what I think I came up with that concept of emotional intelligence when it comes to investment. Now, usually when you say emotional intelligence, general emotional intelligence, particularly when it comes to relationship with people. But I came up with a term, emotional intelligence, when it comes to the concept of investment. So you see people do all manner of points